Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded 7 o'clock newscast brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and brought to you by Connexus, providing fiber internet to Clinton. Learn more at DeWittDailyNews.com. The Clinton Board of Education approved its fiscal year 26 budget Tuesday night at its monthly meeting. Superintendent Drew Goebel discussed the revenue sources with his board, noting thanks to the Clinton power plant, the district's reliance on state of Illinois dollars is minimal.
The tentative budget and the final budget, which you have in front of you, is very similar. And the reason why that is because last year when I did the tentative budget, the salaries and benefits was not included. This go around, we were able to get those figures in. So the tentative budget is very similar to what we have right now. This will, I call it cheat sheet, but guide kind of breaks down the major differences. So you can look at the final numbers from the ending budget, from the final to the tentative. You can see we have, very close, $53,000 and more money in the ed fund. The major items that have affected that was the CPVRT. I got the final numbers on that. Again, it's within $7,000. That's kind of what I was hearing when the state superintendent and any of the finance seminars I've gone, they kind of said, and they think it might go up a little bit next year, but that CPPRT is kind of leveled off. Same thing with evidence-based funding. We're a tier 4 school, so we're always going to be in that $2 million range. Fortunately, we don't rely on evidence-based funding. Our major source of funding we've talked about is our local taxes with our levy, and with essentially the power plant makes a big role in that.
According to Goebel, there are many unknowns with this budget. He explains while some revenues are coming through, there are some expenditures that are still up in the air.
And then fortunately, Title II came through. Earlier, we didn't have any Title II. And so last year we got about $68,000. This time we got so we did get Title II, so $60,000. So that was definitely a plus. There are many unknowns. So in June I will do an amended budget, and these are the major, players that are going to affect that. Kind of listed down there. The CPRT that might go up, might go down. Our CDs, we're still in an inverse treasury curve situation. So when I renew CDs, we've been doing 6 months interest, and we've been getting good rates. We never know how many substitutes we're going to have, if there are any staffing changes. But the teachers that we've hired, more times than not, they're going to be the same teachers we have at the end of the school year. So those numbers are going to stay the same. So the ed fund, not a big difference.
The buildings and maintenance saw the most drastic change from the tentative budget to the final budget. Goebel points out they have done some great things, especially as it relates to security.
Operations and maintenance, probably the biggest of all the different 9 funds, probably the largest change from the 2 budgets, from the final to the tentative. So we do have less money, right? You can see that number, but the reasons I kind of have listed. The junior high, during COVID, we did a major upgrade for all of our cameras, and we were able to use COVID money, Esther, to do all those major upgrades. Junior high, we had some blind spots, some areas that weren't covered. We had some old cameras that we were able to use that Beck Tech had. Those are kind of failing. School security is a big thing for me. I want to make sure our kids are safe. Our administrators, if there is an issue, they have cameras that can track things down. So junior high, we are going to make those upgrades.
Last year, the district approved a contribution to the Bloomington Area Career Center to help purchase and use the former State Farm building in Bloomington. Goebel, who is on the BACC board, says it is a phenomenal facility.
Operations and maintenance, the Bloomington Career Academy. If you recall, last year, us and 13 other school districts went in and purchased a State Farm building. It's kind of by Oakland Avenue in Bloomington. I've been to the facility. It's amazing. It is really, it's awesome. So that is our share. It's actually less than that. It's closer to like $98,000, but I budgeted $100,000. So that's our share. And for what we get out of that is is awesome. And I meet with, I'm on the board for the Bloomington Career Academy. So I monthly check-ins with them, and it's great. It's really impressive that we have that. And then something that just didn't make it on the last budget was the sound system. The sound system in the high school auditorium, major upgrade. So now the lights and the sound in the high school auditorium, and this kind of goes back to our facilities plan that we had a couple years ago. This was one of the final items that we've kind of checked off that we've taken care of. So our auditorium is really nice. It was nice before, but now our lights and sound makes it that much better.
Also, a part of the budget, the district is utilizing technology in its buses. The devices will check students in and out, and also offer GPS tracking. The board approved the budget on Tuesday night. News time, 7:15 on this Wednesday. It's a first-of-its-kind program in Warrensburg-Latham schools aimed at providing support to students struggling in a variety of areas. On the WHOW Morning Show Tuesday, Superintendent of Warrensburg-Latham Schools, Cheryl Warner, told Regional Radio they have an interventionist from the Regional Office of Education for the Macon and Piatt County offices to work with students grades 4 through 12.
I do. I have Mariah Kohler with me. She is our new student liaison. So her position in our district is pretty unique because we are actually not her employer. She's actually employed by the Regional Office of Education through Macon and Piatt, ROE number 39. And she's employed through them by a state initiative, which is called the ALOT program, which stands for the Alternative Learning Opportunities Program. So the Illinois State Board of Ed has recognized that schools might need some additional non-traditional assistance in meeting the needs of students, whether this is related to their academics, their social emotional needs, goal setting, and then communicating with families. And so this program has allowed us to use some of our evidence-based funding to employ these individuals through Regional Office of Education. And Mariah is with us as a first-year student liaison this year. She has had an amazing jump start. The program is in year 2 through our regional office. They piloted last spring in other districts and locations. Warrensburg, of course, had a high interest in being able to host a student liaison, and so we moved forward with that this year too. She's able to hold a caseload of up to 35 students, and she assists in various ways, really functions like a part of our staff and family here.
According to Warner, Mariah Kohler will be in addition to the district's existing support staff to intervene with students with specific needs. Warner notes they need the program as their enrollment continues to grow.
Our district, and I think we talked about this last month, the enrollment is definitely increasing. We are at almost 1,050 students, and we haven't been that high since 2009. So every year we're seeing an influx of anywhere between 20 to 40 new students coming to us. With that being said, the level of support is also higher, right? So we have a full-time school counselor at the high school. We have a social worker that works at both the middle school and the high school. And we also have a full-time social worker that's stationed in just our elementary. Even with those individuals who have a tremendous amount of expertise, we would still like more social emotional support for our students. So when this program came about as an opportunity for us to have what I would consider another full-time counselor on staff that can actually support all 3 of our buildings, because this program through Mariah, she's able to service students in grades 4 through 12. So she kind of acts as a partner in our counseling team. So when our counselors and social workers have to focus their time on, let's say, students that have IEP minutes because they're mandated by that, then Mariah can come in and she can help with the caseload, and or she can provide what I would consider early intervention services before a student gets too far deep into whatever concerns or issues that are having, work with the family, early intervention, possibly exit out of the program, move on to other students that are at that early intervention, or what we would kind of consider like that bubble level of, gosh, if we got in there quick enough, we could remedy this. And just a little bit of persistence kind of fixes the problem, right? So for us as a district, it was very attractive to be able to have yet another support staff person to assist our teachers and our students and our families.
Kohler sees kids for a variety of things and sometimes multiple things. She indicates communication with teachers and parents is a vital part in the success of her program and that student.
I am, again, working with the students 4th through 12th, and it's a variety. So academics, attendance, behavior, the social, emotional. The students can be referred for one of those areas, or they can be referred for all 4 of those areas. It really just depends what the need is. And I am just a support person to that student, because we can all benefit from having someone that they can go to. If I have a attendance kiddo, well, then the case normally is they're lacking in academics, because those go hand in hand. Helping kids that are struggling with the anxiety or the depression, anger, whatever that case may be, I am working with the other teachers, and I'm working with parents, because we need to be that community of support for each student to watch them succeed. I currently have 16 students on my caseload. It's growing. I can have up to 32, but there is a need. I feel like every student needs support. If you don't have the communication piece, then it's just not great. So if I can communicate with the parents and be like, hey, what are the barriers for your student not attending school? Let's work around that. Let's figure that out together. Or working with the teachers if they're not doing great in certain classes, communicating what are your expectations in your class? How do you run it? Do you submit, or do you accept late work? Do you accept retaking of tests? Like, how can we best support the student as a team, basically? I try to stay in communication with the teachers and the parents as much as possible to let them know what's going on, and that way we can work together for that student.
While the program is beneficial, Warner hopes to eventually receive state funding to expand to pre-K through 3rd grade, because that's where she says the need is most visible. And it's not just in Warrensburg-Latham. Many school leaders report challenges with young students coming to school not emotionally ready for school. News time, 21 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Wednesday, pardon me. Domestic violence does not always present itself as physical. More often, abusers use mental tactics to control their victims. Andrea Coker with Willow Tree Missions in Piatt County explains the intent of emotional abuse is to gain power and control over their victim. This can start with behaviors like blaming, but can be as extreme as threats and constant ridicule.
So yeah, last week we talked a little bit just in general about what emotional abuse is. Essentially, it's anything that isn't physical, but the whole intent of emotional abuse is to generate and start the process of causing a victim to be controlled by their abuser. Emotional abuse is 100% rooted in power and control. Not that all domestic violence isn't, but emotional abuse is where it starts. It's pretty unbelievable what people can create for their victim, the world that they can create for their victim with just emotional abuse. And it's awful, and it lasts a really long time, and it's really hard to overcome. So manipulation is a tool. Like, anybody who has kids know that our kids try to manipulate us because they don't know any better. Like, they're learning what works, what doesn't. They're seeing what they can get away with. At home, they're testing boundaries. So if you take that and multiply it by thousands, it's kind of what's happening in our victims' everyday lives. Their abuser is truly playing mind games with them, making promises that they are never going to keep. It's absolutely things to get what the abuser wants in the moment. It works because victims want it to be true. They want this to be the time. Likely there was a time in their relationship whenever things were great and they could believe everything that their abuser said. And there's this desperation for the relationship to return to that. So when they hear the promise, even though there's the sense of this isn't really going to happen, there's still the hope that it will.
Oftentimes, abusers will use intentionally confusing behavior to control a victim. Coker explains sometimes an abuser will do something nice followed by something extremely cruel to prey on their insecurities and self-worth of the victim.
In our world, we call it confusing behavior, or it's an easy way to explain. So examples would be like things that are super, super kind followed by cruelty, but kind of in the same sentence. So an example would be an abuser, an abusive person being excited, thanking their victim, like, you made me dinner. That was so thoughtful of you. I'm grateful. I love it, whatever. But in the same breath saying, I mean, it's the only thing that you did well all day, but you did that. So while the abusive person was able to be kind and showcase some of that kindness they're capable of, the message that was actually delivered was, you're worthless. And continue to break down any of that self-worth or self-esteem that the victim ultimately is already likely struggling with. And it can happen early. Like, I've heard about it a lot from people who don't work outside their home, and their partners will come home, and it can be little, asking, well, what'd you do all day? Because maybe their house isn't clean or dinner wasn't ready. And that little bitty phrase can start to really take root. To then the next day, maybe the victim works really hard and does make sure the house is picked up and make sure dinner's on the table. But there's one thing that they didn't get to. That becomes the fixation of, well, you did these two things great, but not that great.
Creating a chaotic or unstable home is another way abusers take advantage of their victims. They want to eliminate places where the victim feels comfortable and perpetuate the need to keep the abuser happy in order to stay safe.
Yep. So whenever I get home from work, I kind of know, like, I know I've got kids to take care of. I know we're going to need to eat dinner and we've got a schedule for the night. And I can pretty well predict essentially what those activities are going to look like. I can pretty well predict who's going to be in charge of which thing, and we kind of have a flow. Oftentimes people who live in abusive homes, they have no idea what they're going to walk into every day. While they may have the same list of activities they need to complete, they don't know which partner is going to be waiting for them. Is something as small as driving a block out of the way to say hi to a friend, or to swing by the grocery store, or if you get caught when you're getting out of your car by somebody who drove by and you stop to talk to them, if that's going to be enough to set their partner off of kind of intentionally being unpredictable and how they're going to react to situations, that way it can control the behavior of their abuser, because they will just try to avoid setting them off. I believe that most of that is truly just an act. It didn't really make them mad, but if they keep you in this state of upheaval all the time, you are more likely to do exactly what they expect you to do all the time, on their timeline, on what their expectation is, because you've learned it's just not worth it to deviate outside of that.
Coker indicates the gaslighting in victim and making a victim feel crazy is the behavior she sees most often. Denial is a behavior that is used to make a victim feel like they're not being abused when they are.
Oh, every day, all day long. This is I would say this is about the number one thing that I talk through people with, because when people come to me and meet with me, or finally decide it's time to start talking about what's going on, oftentimes victims, the amount of times, it's overwhelming how many times victims will say to me, he acts like it didn't happen, or has convinced me it's not how I remember it. And now I'm starting to feel nuts, because I think this happened, but then am I wrong? Am I perceiving it wrong? And people are truly have reached a breaking point whenever they finally do get to me, oftentimes. And for me to tell them, you truly are not alone. This is a thing. This is a thing, that they have a gift. It's not a good gift. If we used that gift for good, it would be great. But it's nuts how people who truly are not, I don't want to use the word crazy, but do not have any issues whatsoever, have been manipulated so much that they believe their abuser, to the point of making it seem like maybe the abuse didn't happen. Happens all the time.
There are so many more ways a domestic abuser uses mental tactics to control their victims. You can learn more about the services offered by Willow Tree Missions in Piatt County by visiting willowtreemissions.org. Also follow them on Facebook. News time, 28 minutes after 7 o'clock. We wrap things up next.
Your favorite shows or gaming with your friends, Connexus has you covered. Say goodbye to buffering and dropped calls and say hello to fiber fast internet. Ready to upgrade your connection? Sign up today by clicking the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. Nothing connects us like Connexus.
Selection for a new Chevrolet is here at Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City. This is Scott Baum. Yes, from the Corvettes to the Suburbans and everything to help your family or business, Chevrolet has value options for your needs. This month, see our Silverado trucks in 1500, 2500, and 3500s in gas or diesel. Our Silverados have big savings with more discounts if you trade yours in. Chevrolet, together let's drive. BaumChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Prosecutors say they'll seek the ultimate punishment, a death sentence for Charlie Kirk's accused assassin if he is convicted. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson faces 7 charges, including aggravated murder, according to Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray. The UK has rolled out the red carpet for President Trump and the First Lady Melania. The first couple's historic state visit to England now underway. Following all of today's royal pomp, tomorrow the president will get down to business. He'll hold talks with Prime Minister Starmer at Chequers. We expect to hear from the Federal Reserve later today about interest rates. A cut, the first of the year, is expected. Could be a quarter-point reduction, perhaps even more. When watching Wall Street this morning, stock futures still mixed. Dow futures up 42 points, while the NASDAQ futures are down 8 points. More details at srnnews.com.
With SRN Sports, I'm Jason Walker. Well, a new survey finds sports fans are likelier to use a combination of streaming services and traditional TV options in order to access their favorite teams. The poll from the Associated Press shows a very complicated and often very expensive patchwork as the common way for a lot of fans, and it leaves them beholden to multiple platforms and or subscriptions if they want to keep up with their favorite team. Dallas Wing star Paige Bueckers, the runaway choice for the Women's NBA Rookie of the Year after one of the finest debut seasons in league history. Bueckers received 70 of 72 votes from sports writers and broadcasters in balloting announced by the league earlier Tuesday. This is SRN Sports. And speaking of the WNBA, a couple of playoff games, Seattle 86, Las Vegas 83, Indiana over Atlanta 77-60. Major League Baseball, Milwaukee 9, the Angels 2, Athletics 2, Boston 1. Cleveland beat Detroit 7-5, Toronto over Tampa Bay 6-5, Seattle slammed Kansas City 12-5. Yankees got by Minnesota 10-9. It was Baltimore 8, the White Sox 7. And Houston defeated Texas 7-5. Over in the National League, a doubleheader. Atlanta took 2 from Washington, 6-3 and 5-0. Cubs 4, Pittsburgh 1, St. Louis 3, Cincinnati 0. The Mets beat San Diego 8-3. Miami 6, Colorado 5, Arizona 6, San Francisco 5. Philadelphia beat the Dodgers 9-6. This is SRN Sports.
Time now for a look at sports. I'm Seth Lawrence with this report. After a 50-0 loss to state-ranked Seneca Friday night, Clinton is looking to find a way to play well for 4 quarters. Coach Ron Bass felt his team played well early Friday night, particularly in the first quarter. However, his team struggles in a couple of areas, and that may be preventing them from playing the complete game they are looking for.
You know, when you take 50-0, it's not not great, but I thought first half wise we played, we were right there. It's the same story right now. We're trying to get over that hump of it's got to be more than just a quarter and a half or 2 quarters. We got to put together our second half was just not what we wanted it to be. Handed credit to them. They're a really, really good football team. That might be the best football team we're going to see this year. So they're just way bigger and stronger than we were up front. I think you guys probably noticed that. And, Josh didn't have much time to throw the football if we tried to do any kind of drop back passing. So, and then we couldn't run the ball. I mean, you just said it with the rushing yards. When you can't rush the football, those things, just not good things are going to happen.
The Maroons made a change at quarterback Friday night, switching Keaton Graves and Josh Bass. Coach Bass says that was more of a byproduct of trying to establish the perimeter in his new offensive scheme this year.
We're just having difficulty getting to the perimeter on some things. And so by putting Graves out there and running some jet sweeps and some rocket sweeps and screen game, obviously we know he can be a great receiver. He did that early in his career. So it gives us a perimeter threat that I'm hoping will open up some more of the inside game. Now, today, we knew what we were up against up front, and we knew that it was going to be difficult. It was going to be a tall order to move the ball, particularly, up the middle. So, trying to get on the perimeter, we were hoping to make a few more plays in the passing game. Didn't quite get there. We were really close in the end zone, and there were a couple other balls that were really close. But I was pleased. I think I like how that can work. It gives us some other options, and I commend both Josh and Keaton both for being team players and doing that. And so I think there was definitely a lot of positives offensively, but again, we have to run the football a little bit better. And that's
while Clinton starts 0-3 on the season and has had its struggles, Coach Bass is preaching effort.
I can't ask more than just your effort. Yeah. You're going to get outmatched. It just it's the way it is right now. They're going to be going against some bigger, stronger, faster kids, and so I do like their effort. I hope they understand that this is part of a process, and that we talk about not watching the scoreboard, but we got better tonight. Like again, every week I'm asking for them to get better. And I told them that at some point that there are better days ahead, and that you're going to catch somebody by surprise. And
the road through the heart of Central Illinois resumes Friday night when the Maroons visit Tuscola. Hear the action starting at 7 p.m. on WHOW and all its digital platforms. Despite a 36-14 win Friday night, Monticello football coach Cully Welter was overall disappointed with his team's performance in an Illini Prairie Conference win over Rantoul in Rantoul. The Sages started strong with 2 scoring plays in their first 2 possessions, but the game turned sloppy after that. Coach Welter says there's a lot of things to reflect on despite the easy win.
I'd say it was not good. I'm pretty disappointed. The one positive I'll say at the bat, and I'll be careful with what I say, but I thought we got off to a great start.
Yeah,
that's the one thing we really tried to emphasize. We didn't get off to a great start at IVC. We played on our heels a little bit against Unity, but we rebounded. Got out here today. Defense played great. We got 2 touchdowns right off the bat, and we started, stubbing our toe again. And I definitely will look at myself and see what I could do. I mean, the game plan was maybe not as intricate, planning to sort of save some stuff, but I'd like to think we could we need to play simple and be successful. And I don't know. I mean, I tried reads, I tried no reads, I tried quick game. I mean, yeah, there's some things we probably could have done that I left on the table because the game was in hand, but I'm just disappointed right now.
Coach Welter simplified the game plan after he used his 3rd timeout of the half early in the second quarter, and noted even at halftime they simplified what they were doing.
Particularly at halftime, we're just going to run. They're overshifting. They're giving us a bubble. They were giving us double reads. That's sometimes hard to do. They were chaotic in defense. We talked about in the pregame how sometimes defense doesn't necessarily follow formula, can be difficult, but we just still too many mental mistakes, too many errors, too many missed assignments. It just kind of snowballed after that. And I felt like we could have continued to do that. And again, I was just like, well, I want to work on some other things. So, I mean, that certainly played into maybe our inefficiency, but they were playing over the top, and we could run by him a little bit. We had the middle open on the one. We didn't catch the ball, but that's okay. It happens. Yeah. But I mean, there's just no precision with what we're doing, and it's frustrating.
Monticello gets set to renew its rivalry with Decatur St. Teresa this Friday night for homecoming. Coach Welter is looking for his team to have a solid week of practice despite all the distractions of homecoming week.
I don't know how they they play tomorrow against Prairie Central, so that'll be a big game for us to watch, and it's a huge game for us. So we're going to have to rebound. Obviously, we'll do what we can to get better. I'll look at myself, what I need to do to get better, and hopefully we'll come back ready to practice hard on Monday.
How are they?
Right now, everybody's solid, for us. I mean, we're just we can't really overlook anyone, nor should you. As we said before the game, you get 9 guaranteed games. It doesn't really matter who you play. You have fun playing, so play hard, right? So, I'm not saying it was a lack of effort. I mean, a lot of kids that gave great effort. It's just we struggle execution-wise.
Game time Friday night is 7 p.m. Hear all the action on 95.9 FM WEZC and online at DeWittDailyNews.com. Get sports anytime from your computer or mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Ample sunshine expected today with daytime highs approaching 88. Winds out of the northeast 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows level off around 60 tonight, mainly clear skies.